Hello and welcome to the Dragon Shed for a 3-minute skill. This is more of a process than a skill, but most of my skills end up being processes anyway. So I've recently taken up to buying stuff on Wish, which is a little risky because you never quite know whether you're going to get something of quality. But these little labels, little craft paper labels, are pretty damn good. And in the end I only paid for postage, so I'm happy with that. I could have made my own, and normally I have coloured card labels on all my items when I'm selling, but I want to kind of upgrade so they all look neat, because I've colour coded for price, but they're just kind of cut out bits of card. They're very rough, so something like this will look a bit more professional once it's been stamped, and that's what I'm going to do today. So for a stamp you need some sort of foundation to stick it on. If you've got a nice block of wood, you can use that. I've got this piece of foam. This may or may not be usable. I'll see how it goes, essentially. But it's pretty easy to just make up a new stamp and glue it onto something. So I'm going to start by cutting off a piece that is roughly the size of my stamp. That's completely wonky, but never mind. And what I want to do is have a flat surface on one of the sides, so I'm using the label itself to show me where I need to cut, and just cut straight down. So you have a nice flat surface that fits quite neatly on the surface you want to print. Now, by all means, you can make this out of anything you like, of clay, of lino, of potato, but you want something that's going to last a while and be quite sturdy in the end. So I'm going to use EPA foam as my main front section, essentially. So what I'm going to do is find a pen, take a pen, and draw out what I want my design to be. So I'm going with my normal dragonfly logo, and that is quite simple to start with. It's just a couple of tear shapes and a long body with a circle for the head and a pair of antennae. That's kind of where I go for the logo. And I also want to put dragonfly on. I want to write DF. So about there. So that is generally what I'm going for, and it fits nicely within the boundary of my base. This is quite intricate, and I probably should be closer. So be sure to tack down the ends of letters or feelers or anything like that. Anything that's quite a small feature needs tacking down. So I'm just going to shift this back into position. That too close. So I'm happy with how that sits. Now I'm going to push my foam flat on top. Just hold it in place for a second or so. There's your stamp. You just need to leave that to dry. About an hour should be enough, depending on how strong your glue is. This is a fabric glue. It's intended for beading and that kind of thing, so it works quite well on foam. So I'll see how that looks in an hour or so, and then I'll start printing. So my stamp has dried and it's good and solid. Now I'm just going to push in the inside bit of my D here. I don't mind if it's not all the way in, but I want to make sure it actually doesn't stamp. So like that. Right. So as I said before, you can pretty much do any design you want. It depends on how well you can shape it and how well you can mark it. So things like the wings, just kind of define the shapes a bit more. Do it before gluing and after, so that if it settles down anyway, you can actually give it a defined line. And you can do this after every use as well, until the foam kind of builds up a memory and stops bouncing back, essentially. So there's that, so that's ready to go. So my stamp has dried and it's good and solid. I'm just going to push in the inside bit of my D here. I don't mind if it's not all the way in, but I want to make sure it actually doesn't stamp. So like that. Right. So as I said before, you can pretty much do any design you want. It depends on how well you can shape it and how well you can mark it. So things like the wings, just kind of define the shapes a bit more. Do it before gluing and after, so that if it settles down anyway, you can actually give it a defined line. And you can do this after every use as well, until the foam kind of builds up a memory and stops bouncing back, essentially. So there's that, so that's ready to go. Now I've got about 300 of these labels. I don't know how many I'm going to stamp today, but I'll get a decent number done. So what I've got here is a stack of books, or a couple of books. I will probably need more than what I've got here, but I can just get them off the shelf. I don't have a specific drying rack, so what I use is some little shot glasses in either corner, like that, and then lay the labels on as I stamp them, and then put another book on top, so I can get fairly high with that, as long as I make sure they're all balanced and equal. So there's that, and now I need to work on my stamping environment. So ideally you want a good flat patch of surface, because you don't want to print the sides of your stamp in any way. It needs to be able to sit flat. And for the paint I'm going for a couple of colours. So a little splidge of silver and a splidge of purple. This purple is quite a runny one, so I shouldn't need to add any water to this. We shall see. So if you had a specialist roller, brayer, or something like that, then you could use that, but cocktail sticks come in quite handy, quite cheap. So I'm just going to kind of swirl the silver through. I don't want to mix it in necessarily, I just want it swirled in so you get a peak of silver every now and again. So I'm just going to slightly flatten out the paint here, and you can see it's kind of marbled in, or at least I can see from this angle. So I've got here a piece of scrap paper as well, as ideally you want to take a little bit on your stamp and then even it up, make sure every part has got some on it. Okay. Now I should have a piece of paper. I did have a piece of paper for practicing. So every time you kind of reload your stamp, I suggest just checking that you've got the right amount of paint on there. So just stamp it down. If it comes out relatively clear, you're good to go.